As long as the story of human history has been told, inequality has been an issue deeply embedded within us. Our cultural evolution, especially recently, has been working towards equality. We've, for the most part, abolished slavery, given equal rights to women, and are now fighting for equal rights for homosexuals. These victories for humanity were only possible because people had the courage to follow their hearts, stick their heads out above the crowd, and raise their voice to be heard or silenced. They dedicated their lives to fighting for the cause, after deciding that their fear of death or exile wasn't greater than that of succumbing to normality, following societal orders, and living a life of oppression. Many were killed, many were silenced, but the idea of compassion and equality lived on, because it is greater than any one woman or man. It is our true nature, and while lies of inequality can hide truth, truth cannot be hidden forever. For too long have white men rewritten our history books, conveniently depicting our superior as a white male, his prized possession as man, and woman as nothing but a superfluous rib. For too long have we let these ideas become our beliefs, and these beliefs shape our reality. For too long have we let this way of thinking blind us from the truth. We take the blinders off, we see that the design speaks for the designer and needs no translation. We see that all is in each part, and each part in all. We see that creation is the result of unification between male and female, and if a little banging creates a new part of life, it would sure make sense that all life was created by a big bang. We see that heaven is not a death away, but possible here and now. For heaven is being well fed around friends and family in times of peace. We, in an infinitely improvable way, with a population of just over 7 billion, produce enough food to feed 12 billion people. Yet more than 27,000 innocent lives end, due to starvation, each day. Nothing but ordinary humans, possessed by ego, greed, and a false sense of power, teach us to suppress heaven. For a heaven on earth cannot satisfy their illusions of power, like a world of abundance does not breed thoughts of greed. When we close the man-written history books and seek our origins in the dirt, we see that we evolved from primates in the forests of Africa, where we lived in peace on a diet of mostly fruits and vegetables. Our symbiotic relationship with the forest, through its nutrient and hormone-dense fruits, likely caused the rapid evolutionary growth of our brains. At some point, either our curiosity or environmental disaster drove us to explore the outside world. Upon leaving the womb-like forest for the first time, we experienced seasons and the cold temperature that went along with them. Our highly evolved brains allowed us to survive by flint-knapping stones to create sharp points for spears, to act as the claws we don't have, to kill animals, to use their skins, to act as the fur we don't have, and to discover fire, to cook the flesh, to kill the bacterial load that our digestive systems hadn't evolved to deal with. Our brains, cut off from the food they evolved on, ceased growing and began to shrink. The sudden change from abundance to scarcity and fruit biochemistry to that of cooked animal flesh shifted our mentality from that of prey to predator, and naturally one of benevolence to greed. It wasn't bad or good, but rather necessary for our survival. Every time we feed ourselves, we're biochemically giving ourselves information about our environment in order for our bodies to best serve us. When we eat fruits and vegetables, we are essentially telling our bodily intelligence that we're experiencing abundance, and therefore there is no need for competition. The fructose is quickly and efficiently converted to glucose for our brains and glycogen for our muscles, giving us clarity of mind and endless energy, while the nutrients and plant hormones allow for growth. And inside the fruit lies the seed to symbiotically assist the continuation of the fruit forest. When we eat the flesh of another being, the fat acts as a less efficient yet more sustained energy source to promote survival between hunts, while giving us a little extra layer of fat to help with the cold weather. The excess cholesterol assists to produce excess bile to help in the intensive digestive process, and also produces excess testosterone, promoting a more competitive and insensitive predator-like mindset. Eating animals has served us well to allow us to migrate and inhabit the world, like the agricultural revolution has allowed us to settle and gain population. But with our current population levels, we're unable to sustain ourselves through hunting without causing the extinction of all wildlife. While animal husbandry and fishing are the single greatest causes of environmental degradation. Our sheer population is not causing environmental destruction. Our unsustainable practices are. If we continue to use the farming practices of animal husbandry and monoculture, we will simply have no future. While our past was necessary to get us to where we are today, the only benefit that the consumption of flesh now has is to those profiting off of it, while the competitive and predatory mindset that is promoted by eating animals only serves the growth of industry. This is why the only food advertisements in the media contain meat, cheese, and other dairy-laden confections, followed by ads for laxative, acid reflux, allergy, and antidepressant drugs. It's becoming ever clearer that division from the symbiotic systems of humans and nature is responsible for the failing parasitic systems and the behavior we call human nature. Like a wire disconnected from that which makes it live, a being disconnected from that which gives it life is left powerless. If we are to continue our cultural evolution of compassion and equality, it would appear that our next fight would be to end speciesism, the idea that we are superior to other life forms. The first step in doing so is also the first step towards the assurance of our survival and evolution as a species. We must return to our original symbiotic diet and lifestyle. Like with racism and sexism, people indoctrinated by religious bigotry will be the last to abolish speciesism. As they continue to justify their racism by quoting biblical passages like these, they will surely justify their steak and eggs with passages like these. And the truth will be ignored. It's almost baffling that we are following rules that were written while we thought the world was flat, and that the followers divide themselves into different religious sects of Christianity, when Jesus Christ, if he existed, dedicated his life to opposing religious institution. If ever there were a quote that represented the religious leaders' fear of losing power to the truth, this would be it. The modern Antichrist, identified in the book of Revelation as a seven-headed beast, is most likely now disguised as a philanthropist supporting creeds like vegetarianism, animal rights, or pacifism, and advocating dialogue with Orthodox and Anglican believers, but his true aim is to undermine the Catholic Church. Either we continue our brain-shrinking parasitic ways by living in the old paradigm dictated by man, perpetuating the suffering of our children and fellow earthlings, ultimately leading to our destruction as a whole, or we return to our original symbiotic nature, written in our relationship with plants that our bodies and minds evolved as a result of, to continue. Either we feed ourselves and the earth by means of permaculture, or we continue to deplete the earth and ourselves through monoculture. Either we continue buying food in plastic containers, or begin to only shop in the produce section and farmers markets. Either we support the corporations, or we support the organic farmers. Either mankind stops Monsanto, or Monsanto stops mankind. Either we stick our heads out above the crowd and speak up, or we follow the herd off the cliff. Either we wake up to the alarming reality, or we hit the snooze button. Either we ignore this message, or we make it our own. Surely there is no more exciting time to be alive, awaken from our illusion of separation, and reunite. We owe our equality and quality of life to those who came before us and fought for social reformation. Therefore, we owe our lives to social reformation. It's important that you remember that you're privileged, not because you have a home, a computer, the internet, or even because you can decipher these vibrations into a coherent message. The truth is that you may never know, in this life at least, why you're privileged. So maybe why isn't the question we should be asking, but rather, what good can I do with my privileges?